Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all for 5-day international virtual workshop on research skills, jointly organized by International Research Academy of Science and Arts, IRASA, Belgrade, Serbia, and IRASA branch India, Cape Comorian Trust India, Lavender Literary Club India. It's time to welcome our chairperson, Ambassador Professor Dr. Esther Mala ma'am, Country Director IPRH Malaysia, International Inspirational Speaker Award winner, Certified Global Trainer, International Soft Skill Trainer, International Toastmaster, Educationist, Macedonia Golden Award winner 2022, Leadership Award winner 2022, Parenting Coach, Child and Youth Development Coach. And she's a mentor at Oriental University Indore, India, and Witty Gossip, International Peace Ambassador, Accountant UK, and IT Engineer UK. And she's a Malaysian Education Ambassador for International Internship University, Official Trainer, Project Director, and International Speaker. And she's a Country Director of IPRH Malaysia. And latest award in 2023, what she holds, Best Global Educator Award 2023, Worldwide Leadership Gold Award winner 2023, Most Influential and Iconic Leader 2023, International Inspirational Speaker Award winner 2023, Global Legend and Peace Award 2023. We are so glad to welcome you, ma'am. Please, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sailaja. Welcome, dear honorable, respected dignitaries, guest speakers, researchers, and dear audience. I'm glad to meet every one of you here, and I welcome every one of you to this beautiful conference today on research skills. Let me introduce you. I say a few words about this research skills conference. Okay, this conference is jointly organized by International Research Academy of Science and Art, IRASA, Belgrade, Serbia, and IRASA branch India, Cape Comorin Trust India, Lavender Literacy Club India as well. Let us see who are the organizing committee. The patrons are Professor Vladika Ristic, PhD, President, International Research Academy of Arts and Science, Belgrade, Republic of Serbia. Next, Dr. R.S. Regine Silvest, President, Cape Comoria Trust, India. Next, Dr. Frank Jason Satya, President, Lavender Literary Club, India. The convener is Dr. Sailaja Vasudeva, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, Shahid Captain Vikram Batra Government Degree College, Palampur District, Kangra, Himachal Pradesh, India, Cape Comorin International Coordinator. Our coordinator is Dr. Subra Jamwal, Assistant Professor, Government College of Education, UT of Jammu and Kashmir, India, Cape Comoria International Coordinator. Our organizing secretaries are Academician, International Research Academy of Arts and Science, Belgrade, Republic of Serbia, Professor Vera Popovic, PhD, Professor Marija Maksin, PhD, Professor Jelena Boskovic, PhD. Our co-coordinators are Dr. Mamunur Rahman, Professor, Department of English, Islamic University, Kushtia, Bangladesh, Cape Comorin Club member. Dr. C. Govindaraj, Professor and Head, Department of English, Periyar University Center of Postgraduate and Research Studies, Dharmapuri, Tamil Nadu, Cape Comoria Club member. Next is Dr. Bharati Srinivasan, Assistant Professor, Department of English, SRC, Sastra, deemed to be University, Kumbakonam, Tamil Nadu, India, Cape Comorin Club member. Dr. Mauve Roshan, Lodz University, Poland, Cape Comorin Club member as well. Dr. Suchitra Vahisht, Associate Professor, Department of English, FMEH, MRHRS, Cape Comoria Club member. Dr. Prachi Priyanka, Assistant Professor of School of Humanities and Social Science, Sharda University, India. She's also Cape Comoria Club member. Dr. Ankita Gupta, Head Department in English, GGDSD, College, Kerry, Gurna, India, Cape Comorian Club member also. Dr. Ruth Magdalene, Assistant Professor, Krishna Jayanti College, Bangalore, India, Cape Comorin Club member. Last, Elengode M, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Vellalar College for Women, Erode, India, Cape Comoria Club member 2. Then, I think this is all about this program. Hope you will enjoy the talk and you can learn a lot from this sharing of our honorable guest speakers. Dr. Vladika Sir is the president of this International Research Academy of Arts and Science, Belgrade. So is he around? Welcome, sir.
Instead of him, on behalf of Professor Vladica Ristic,
Yes.
I'm Professor Marija Maksim, the Vice President of IRASA Academy.
Yes, yes.
And I would like to greet all of you who are the speakers and audience on behalf of this academy. And we really like to support and to provide our presence and to hear and learn from other people, to exchange the knowledge and all the skills. And I think this way of joint work, of experience deliverance, and all-time learning and thinking out of the box is our main occupation and our main goal to achieve in the future. So greetings to everyone, and have a good experience, good learning, and enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Vice President Marija from IRASA. Next, I would like to introduce our Jelena Madam, Jelena Boskovic from IRASA as well. She's also from the International Research Academy of Arts and Science, Belgrade, Republic of Serbia. Is she here? No. Okay.
I believe she is on this big conference on Kopaonik in Serbia, and I don't believe she can join now this conference. So
yes.
Excuse us for this. Vera Popovic is on vacation in Montenegro, so she cannot join us either.
Yes, it doesn't matter, ma'am, because I know she's busy. She told me, she texted me, she says she's busy these few days. Thank you for your confirmation. Next, I would like to invite, next will be, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Shalini Kashmiria. Yeah, so I would like to give a short intro about her. Dr. Kashmiria, are you here? Yeah, Shalini Kashmiria. 1 minute, yeah. Welcome, ma'am, to our conference. Glad to meet you here. Dr. Shalini Kashmiria is an assistant professor at Departments of Law, Himachal Pradesh University, Simla, with a teaching experience of 15 years with specialization in business law. Her research papers, articles, conference proceedings in referred and peer-reviewed national and international journals and chapters in edited book volumes have micro-scale perspective, mostly focused on cybercrime, crimes, biopiracy of traditional knowledge, competition, policy, IPR issues, biodiversity conservation, and company law. She has an active participation in seminars, workshops, colloquiums as paper presenter, and is frequently invited as a resource person in national and international conferences and faculty development programs. She has done a project on tribal communities of Himachal Pradesh in collaboration of Ministry of Tribal Studies, Government of India. She has also organized National Mood Court and an investor awareness workshop in collaboration with SEBI, SEBI, Simla Division. She is a department coordinator of cleanliness drive under Pradhan Mantri Swachh Bharat Mission and department coordinator of University Alumni Association. I would like to invite our honorable guest, Dr. Shalini Kashmiria. Welcome, ma'am.
Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you so much for having me here. Let me share the screen first and then I will have a conversation with all of you. Just a second. There is very bad weather here at the moment. So kindly excuse me.
No issue, ma'am. You take your time, no issue. It's normal.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being so kind. Is it visible now? Is my PPT visible?
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
madam,
it is supposed to be full screen. It's visible to me.
Okay. And rest of the audience, is it visible to everyone?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Maybe you can enlarge the screen. Is it possible to enlarge full screen?
Just wait. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do the next one.
So it's more visible for everybody.
I hope now it will.
Yes,
I
yes.
think-
It's better, dear. It's better now.
Okay. All right. So first of all, a very, very warm good evening to all and all present here. Indeed, it's a matter of pride and gratification for me. First of all, I'm very much thankful to Cape Comorin Trust for inviting me here, Lender Literary Club India, and IRASA, and especially Dr. Shelja Vasudeva ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to share my views on not a topic, but it is something which is the backbone of any kind of research you carry out. So the topic that I have chosen to talk to you today is about how to write an effective research paper, right? So Just a second. I think it's hanging. Just give me some time. Okay. All right. So when I'm talking about a research paper, many questions comes in the mind of the researcher. For example, how it has to be written, what shall I write, what will be my topic, what will be the introductory part, what will be the main body, what will be I writing in conclusions, and how will I refer, what will be, how will I put the quotations, what exactly is to be written, what I have to pick up from which book. So here, although what I have written is a law research paper, but whatever I will be talking about, that is applicable to a great extent to the papers written in social sciences as well as scientific research papers. So before writing any kind of research paper, in higher academics, we know it that we have to write research papers. There are certain pre-writing tips that we have to keep in mind. So whenever you start writing a research paper, there are certain things that you should do before your homework, I mean to say, before before even if you think of writing or giving a title to a paper which you are going to write. So the very first thing that the homework that you are supposed to do is to read what you call in academics literature review. I hope everybody is aware about it. Whenever we write a research paper or we are writing a thesis, we have to write about the literature review. So what is basically literature review is whatever is coming in your mind. For example, if I'm reading a paper and I'm reading about a particular issue of our country, and time and again the editors are writing about it, definitely yes, if my mind is reading it time and again, definitely I'll have questions about it. What is it? Why it is? What is to be done? What has been done? So what is it? What has been done on it, on this problem? These answers cannot be found just by thinking. For that purpose, we need to read the available material, the available papers, research papers or books, or even if you are doing it online, so as to have some kind of acquaintance with the problem that is coming in our mind, which is causing why in our mind. So when we read already existing material on a topic which is striking us, which is persuading us to write a research paper, to write a thesis or a research paper, this particular material is the backbone of our research paper, because that material gives us a wider perspective of that problem or that idea that has popped up in our mind. Why it is like this. So it not only helps us to give clarity about the topic, but it also introduces us to various facets of that problem or that question that has come in our mind, which we call the research question also. So that literature review or that study which we do of the work done by the authors since time immemorial to the present century, be it directly related to the topic that has come in our mind on which we want to write, or be it indirectly related to it, be it related to some facet of it, be it related to some consequences of that problem. So that helps us to find a way towards the future research as well, right? Now the question arises, what is the most appropriate method to do this literature review? It is a common trend nowadays that people are relying more upon internet. But let me be very frank about it. Everything cannot be done by the Google. Internet and Google can only help you to have information or knowledge about the latest what is happening. But if you want to do a very cohesive background research on a particular topic that has come in your mind, popped in your mind, or you want to study it broadly, then you have to definitely go to the hard copies of the material which is available around, be it in the form of your journals, be it in the form of books, the statutes, or any kind of government notifications, whatever you are studying or whatever field, whichever field you are, if you are from linguistics, be it any kind of, if you're working on Shakespeare. So you have to know, you cannot get what Shakespeare wanted to say in a particular novel only on the online. or Google Books. You have to go through the novels. What prompted him to write this? Why he is discussing this particular situation here? What is his opinion about it? What he wants to convey to the society? So this is very much important, that the quality of the material which you are selecting before writing the research paper, so as to have a very firm foundation of clarity of the idea on exactly what you want to write. That is very important. The next thing is you have to outline the information you have collected. This is very important because it is a mind, and if we will not pen down and it will not underline the research notes we are taking, it will skip off from our mind. So whatever important related to your topic is coming in picture, you must write, you must underline at least those things so that you will have clarity of it, right? So if we talk about the research process, it is a very it is a slow process, and it takes its own course till it does justification with the topic you have chosen. So if somebody thinks that by cut copy, CCNC, cut copy and paste, they will assimilate some scrap and they will get it published for API ranking, that is not a research paper, right? So there are certain things which should be clear in your mind, which should be the direction of your research paper. Firstly, ask a question to yourself: why, what is, what thing you want to talk about. Then create a declaration. That is what your hypothesis that comes when you do literature review. You'll get an idea of hypothesis related to it. Then ask reasons for it. These reasons are basically dealing with the objectives you keep to prove your hypothesis. And then you structure your paper with what kind of data you require for it, what kind of study you require for it, and how you have to carry it out. Okay. Making it more simpler. Now, for example, if I'm talking about the sources of literature review, here I'm talking about law. You can also relate it to your subjects, and I will also explain it. The empirical data collected in any kind of subject is considered to be the primary source, because you yourself is responsible for collection of that data, and you carry out that collection, applying your statistical tools, and you take out the conclusions also. So it is always a primary source. Thereafter, when in your subjects, authors are writing different kinds of books, that is considered to be the secondary source of data. And moreover, in certain subjects like law, where you are having only statutes which have already made, you can interpret it, but you cannot change it. So these are also coming in the primary sources of data. I will not go in detail of it, but I will definitely refer to the next slide. Now, if the question arises, what is the most important part of a paper when we write? The very first thing I would like to say, that whenever you write a paper, think about the main body first. Don't jump on introductions and don't jump on abstract. Introductions and abstract should be written at the end, when you have the complete picture of your research paper. So this main body, how this main body has to be written. This main body has to be divided into paragraphs. And it should be tried that 2-3 paragraphs must have some kind of heading or subheading, so as to keep the reader interested in what you are writing. And each paragraph must correlate to the previous paragraph as well as the next paragraph. It should not look like as if you are writing something abstract in one paragraph and something else in another paragraph. Moreover, your first paragraph always should reflect your title. And thus, when you are just ending the paragraph, it should relate to the next paragraph. It should not look like you're talking about something. You're talking about mountains in one paragraph, and in second paragraph, you started talking about the houses. I'm sorry. So there should be correlation. There should be some continuity when you write the paragraphs. Now, the next more important part of your research paper writing is the conclusion part. So what we understand by writing the conclusion? Those who think that conclusion is the summary of what you have written previously is not right. Conclusion means what you have concluded by reading the entire literature review, by putting your own original ideas in your research paper. What is your conclusion related to it? It is not the summary of the entire paragraph. If somebody is writing the entire summary or picking up some glittering statements from the introductory part or from the main any other main body of the part of your literature article, and you're writing it in the conclusion, that is repetition. And repetition is always a bad writing when we write a research paper. So your conclusion should be a combination of what is your findings after reading the entire literature review, how your ideas are imbibed in those findings, and what you are concluding. If you're concluding some loopholes, if you're concluding some contrast, if you're concluding some logical reasoning behind it, if you're from sciences and you are concluding data interpretation you have done, that is the primary source they rely on, and existence, and they work on existence of phenomena. So whatever data they have, what they have concluded, they have to rely on that only. So you don't have to repeat it. And then you give the appropriate suggestions if required, depending upon the nature of your research article, right? The next one is introduction. Now, when we talk about introduction, there are certain things we should keep in mind. Before even touching the introductory part, before even touching what to write in a research paper, you should choose an interesting topic. The title should be very interesting, and the topic should be based upon the previous background research you have done. You should write bit by bit. Don't try to write a research article within 2 hours. It takes time. So write bit by bit and then make it more attractive by putting your original ideas in it. It should look like your original work. So what is a good research paper? A good research paper should be systematic, it should be logical, and it should be result oriented. The last word, result orientation, it is very important. There are different kinds of research paper. I'll be discussing all of them with you. So every kind of research paper demands some kind of conclusion, result. So that should be result oriented. It should not be something vague you have just left, because research paper, you must understand, research paper is your brainchild. So you should know how to develop the hands, the fingers, the body of your child, and how you will help the child to walk, right? So the most important thing, again, I'm repeating, is the ideas. The idea that come into your mind after doing extensive literature review, it is the base of your research paper. Because literature review help you to reason, to ask questions to yourself. When an idea comes into your mind, there are a lot of questions that pop up in your mind related to it. How, when, why? So whenever you are reading, basically you are polishing that point inside your mind. You will be avoiding the distractions then. You come to know, when you read more and more 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 articles on something or books on some particular topic, your mind starts understanding what is required to be written and what is just a piece of trash, right? Secondly, it also gives clarity to you what future research can be done on this particular topic, like scope. Sometimes research articles have also resulted in theses written after 5-6 years. You will have a complete clarity of the theoretical and conceptual framework of a particular article. So reading, lot of reading before writing the article is very much important. That I have already discussed. And secondly, whenever you are reading an article, obviously, yes, this is a mind and it gets biased. You are convinced, your upbringing also plays a very important role in it. Your thinking also plays a very important role in it. So whenever you are reading something from the very beginning, also I have seen people getting biased towards one side only. It is okay. Your mind can be biased. You can put it in your findings. But when you start writing your research article, don't be biased in the beginning. Stop criticizing at the face. Compare, take out the findings, and then support if you're writing a comparative research paper. So biasness, right, starting at the beginning, that you are concluding, because you are given an hypothesis, now you have an objectives and you have to write a research paper. So you cannot be biased in the beginning. That will not be a good hypothesis. That will not be a good research. So compare, take out the findings, and then you can come to the conclusion that you are supporting whom. Now comes, there are various kinds of research papers which are written worldwide. Analytical research paper, definition, compare and contrast research papers, survey empirical research papers, experimental, interpretative, and argumentative research papers. So when I'm talking about the analytical research paper, this is a research paper in which we analyze. We pose a question, there is a research problem, there is a research question, and we start collecting relevant data on it, right? And after collecting the data, be it an empirical in the form of questionnaire, interview, whatever you're doing, or be it a doctrinal research where you are giving explanation to something, you take out the findings as you are getting. It's not your opinion at all. You taking out the findings as they are coming to you. And depending upon the findings, you have to take out the conclusions and have to give the suggestions. So your mind's application only comes in the suggestion box. When you're analyzing, that situation is already existing. You have to collect the data related to that situation, depending upon what has already been said, or if it is empirical, what the people are saying about it. And you have to analyze it, and then you have to come to the conclusion. You don't have to put your ideas in it because you are not being interviewed here. Second is the definition research paper. Here, opinion of the author does not matter at all, personal opinions. It is simply an existing fact and an argument related to it, and you are just giving information related to that argument. Why this fact has this argument related to it? Why this particular situation has been supported by this justification? And if this is the justification, why it is so? What happened? So you just interpret that why this argument is supporting this particular fact. Here, personal opinion does not matter at all. Next is compare and contrast. This is where people can exercise their opinion. They will analyze two situations from two points or two subjects from two different angles. And that research has to be done unbiased. You have to write unbiased, describing both the sides, pros as well as cons. And then you can compare them, and then you can support any one of them. So that is called as compare and contrast research papers. Then we have the survey and empirical research papers being an important part of sciences and social sciences. Here data is collected and conclusions are drawn after applying the statistical tool. Then we have the experimental research paper, which is purely scientific in nature. Existence of a particular phenomena under controlled set of conditions. Data is collected. After setting up the experiment is analyzed and the paper is written, right? Then we have the interpretative research papers. These are basically the case studies, the things which have already happened. Any kind of case you can take. Domestic violence, it has already happened. Now you are doing a study on domestic violence in a particular city of Delhi, or cybercrime on women in the city of Delhi. So it is a case study with special reference to Union Territory of Indian capital Delhi. So here you are doing a case study of already existing phenomena, already existing case, and here you do in-depth study of it. It can be both doctrinal as well as empirical, and then you take out the conclusions from it. If it has happened, what is the conclusion for it, and what suggestions you want to give for it, how it can be improved. If this is a case in future, what changes can be brought so that this particular thing, depending upon your conclusion, whether the results are coming out to be good or bad, it can be altered. Then we have the argumentative research papers. These are basically related to an issue which has already two sides. So you have to, in this case, one side will be supporting it and other side will be opposing it. And here you have to, basically the author is trying to persuade. He's biased from the very beginning, And here the author collects the data, being persuading the audience towards one side. So this is called as argumentative research paper, and it can be doctrinal as well as it can also be related with the statistics tool, which empirical data which you collect. For example, if somebody is reading in the newspaper that the population of India, for example, is the largest population of the world right now, and this particular reason is responsible for it, any one reason, and somebody is biased, this is the only reason behind it. So if you're going to write, you are already biased, preconceived mind you have, that this is the basic reason and I have to find out data related to this only, so as to persuade the audience that this is the basic reason for by which other reasons are also there, but this is the main reason because of which the population is increasing in India. So this kind of argumentative papers can also be written. Now, this is, everybody knows about it, those who are publishing the articles. These are the journal guidelines which are being issued time and again. So maximum national or international research papers have this set pattern. There can be some kind of difference, but still they have the same pattern. MS Word, paper setting 1 inch, minimum it is given. It can be altered, increased also, 1 inch all sides, New Times Roman, and font size 12, space 1.5, and number of pages 8 to 10. I have seen people talking 8 to 10 is very easy to write, but I think it is quite difficult when you are doing original work. Now, these are basically the contents of a legal research paper, or you can call it any research paper at the moment. The only difference where rise in legal research paper and other research paper I'll tell later on. Title, author's affiliation, abstract, keywords, introduction, statement of problem, review of literature, methodology, result and discussion, if it is an empirical research, findings, conclusions and suggestions, references, author's biography. I have written footnotes there. Footnote is a part of legal research paper, that in every page at the bottom we have to give footnotings. We don't rely so much on references, we rely on footnotes. So that is the only difference. Otherwise, rest of the things remains the same as far as all the research papers are concerned. So sources I've already discussed, primary and secondary. Now, before even thinking about writing a paper or writing an introduction, this must be remembered. First of all, what is my purpose of writing an article? Why I want to write it? Just because an idea has popped up in my mind and just because I've read the paper, that's why I want to write it. No, you should be very clear why you want to get this particular thing known to people. You want to write it in your own words. Why you want to write it? What purpose it is going to serve? Your paper is going to serve. Second is, who is your audience? You have the choice of getting it nationally and internationally published. Similarly, you have the choice. Have you ever thought about the audience also? National and international is okay. But audience, are they children? Are they academicians? Are they some bureaucrats? Are they politicians? Who are they? Who will be your population? And the next is what message you want to convey by this. There must be some purpose solved by the write-up you have given for publication. So this is we have already done. Now, the very first thing is what kind of title you should take for the paper. Obviously, yes, the purpose it is going to solve and the audience. Keeping in mind the audience and the purpose your article is going to solve. It is always suggested that your title should be precise, meaningful, directional, impactful, and crisp, so as to capture the audience, the readers you are targeting. Very long kind of titles you have given is not going to solve your problem, or somebody is giving some kind of formula you're writing there. No, it should be very to the point that by reading the title itself, the reader should feel that I must read it what is given here, right? Now, for example, if I have to write an article for children, school-going children, I have to make them aware about the cyber crimes against them. I write an article with the title Cybercrime Against Children. What a big deal. Every third person is writing it. Every third person is giving this article. School-going children and cybercrime, adolescents and cybercrime. If I write something like, think before you click. Think before you click. So that will definitely, because school going children will be attracted towards this kind of title. If I would write this kind of title for some professor, he must be thinking that this lady has gone crazy. She is not giving a proper title. She's just kid. It is best suited to him. Think before you click the mouse. So you have to think about it. Who is your audience? Right? So know your audience first and then choose your topic. That is the most important thing, that you should know who is your audience. Next is, then once you pick up the title, then you have to write these things in every article. That is the author name, if co-author is there, his whereabouts, designation, affiliation, address, phone number, email ID, and an undertaking. There is a difference between undertaking and copyright form. Undertaking you are giving with your own consent, and copyright form is a form which has been given to you by the publishing houses and you have to fill it. So there's no need to fight on this also, that I have given an undertaking. Why should I give copyright form now? Why should I fill it? That is your formality and that is their formality. So you should abide by the directions given by the publishing houses as far as publication is concerned. Now, the second most important part of a research article is the abstract. See, I have told earlier also, the abstract should be written at the end. Because you can write, it is the preface, it is the mirror of your article. It is only the abstract which will let the publishing house to decide whether or not they are going to entertain your paper. So you cannot write the abstract in the beginning and then write the paper, which I've seen people doing. Abstract should be written only once the paper is finished. Even introduction is also written, because it is the preface of your entire article. It is the only stuff of 200 to 250 words, which is going to decide whether this paper is worth publication or not. So there are certain things which should be kept in mind while you write an abstract. First of all, your abstract should be enriched with the what is your title. It should relate to your title, first of all. Then what background information you have about this title. That is the universe of study you call, right? That is the general information, general topic bolte hain. We call it general topic. And then general topic to your specific topic. Extensive study to intensive. Your research article is intensive. Once you come to the conclusion and you give the suggestion, again you throw it for extensive. So your research should go like this, right? And then how much research has been done so far on this topic? Why you have picked it up? What is your rationale behind it? You don't have to give subheadings in it, objective for the research article or research rationale, but you have to make it so crispy that everything should be clear in it. Why you are taking it, what you are going to contribute if already work has been done on this. Why you want to take this and what objectives you're setting up, which is making it different from the previous studies. Then you will also talk about what kind of data you are going to use for it and how this research is going to be important for it. What extra contribution you are going to do if you are going. So this by what you have to keep in mind. What was done? What did you do it? Why did you do it? What did you find? And why are these findings important, right? Now, the most important part of the abstract are the keywords. Keywords plays two important roles. It is written your abstract should be in 200 to 250 words, all right? And then it is written you should give some keywords also. Usually they are written in at the bottom of the abstract in italics, keywords, followed by 2 colons, and then you give 3-4 words. These keywords basically help in indexing and abstracting. If somebody wants to search something you have written in keywords, they will put the word and the article will come out. Are you getting my point? You have written, suppose somebody is writing on Shakespeare's novel, and that novel's name is mentioned in the Shakespeare, some particular quotation of the Shakespeare, some word of the Shakespeare has been mentioned there. Or you're writing on some philosophical, you're writing about positive school of philosophy, or you're talking about Hans Kelsen law of positivity. And you're using this word law of positivity. If somebody will put it on Google, if you are mentioned and if your journal is open access or if your journal is online, that will be reflected that this article with this keyword is available. So it helps you. I've seen people not writing the keywords. This is the importance of keywords. It helps you. It makes your article available to public at large. So now the question is, what kind of keywords should we use? See, the keywords does not mean that you have to pick up it from the abstract only. Keywords should be such that it should reflect your journey of your article, right? Starting from introduction to the conclusion part. So you can put you can take the words from it that will be totally completing your article. It does not have to be from the abstract only, but it should be reflected that these things I'll be talking about in my article. For example, if I'm talking about law regulating traditional knowledge in India, a study. So if I'm putting up the keywords like indigenous knowledge, biopiracy, customary heritage rights, folklore. So definitely, yes, these all are part of indigenous traditional knowledge. So definitely, yes, my article will cover up. Anybody can read it very easily that these words are, and moreover, somebody will put up type folklore on Google, they can definitely have access to my article also, what she has written about it, right? Now comes introduction. I have told you what these are the parts of the introduction which are must to be there in the introductory part. It should be written at last. First one is the universe of study, what already existing literature is all about, right? What is the issue? What is already done on this? Why you are picking it up? What objectives you are setting up to do your research? What kind of methodology are you going to use to take out the findings, right? And then you should give some thesis statement also there, like how this particular research is related to your topic, right? Now, there are certain tips for writing an effective introduction. The very first tip is it should be written at last. I have told you, once you are complete with your conclusion, because you have to write the methodology also, you have to write about the findings also, literature review also. So write it at last. You start with your main body first, complete your article, and then write your introduction and then abstract, right? And secondly, if you want to start because once your article is written, you're happy. And if you want to start your introduction with quotation, you can do that also. So you can use the quotation also. I've seen people writing, starting introducing their topic, their research paper with quotations. So you can go with the quotations also. And you should be very concise. You should not use ambiguous words. Depends upon the audience you are going to pick up. Your paper should be written in your language. It should be written in your own language. For example, I'm just giving you an example how we write articles in law in India. Mapping cyber crimes against women in India. It's a simple thing. This is the title I have given, and this is the abstract I have written. There was an incident that happened in Delhi. CCTV. I pick up that incident rather than starting with the quotation. I picked up the incident. I wrote about the incident so as to capture the tension. And then I am writing about which law is dealing with it. And I have written the word cybercrime, women, pornography, sexual defamation, information. So obviously, I'm completing all the crimes against the women. And then I started again with the CCTV footage. And here I'm writing about which the methodology I'm going to use and what literature reviews is already talking about. So in this way, I have just made it very precise to just give you an idea how it is written. And in this way, we start writing in law. We can put these kind of charts also if you want to. I have just compartmentalized the cybercrime into 3 categories. So you can put these charts also in your research article so as to make it more attractive. And then you can come with the conclusion and then the suggestions, right? So in this way, you can, I'm not writing references here because we don't write references in law. But if it is of social sciences, you can go with the references then. Then this is the advice on improving your writing. You should be very much clear about it, what kind of research you are carrying out. Empirical, then exploratory, doctrinal, then explanatory. Doctrinal means already existing phenomena. Empirical, exploratory means you will put up a questionnaire and then you will explore. You'll try to find out what is the reason about it, right? It should be linear. Linear means right starting from the first paragraph to the last, it should have a direction, okay? And the paragraph should be interlinked to each other, right? So the next slide is, this is not required. These things you should avoid the repetition of words. compels sentences, complicated ones, and redundant vocabulary. Don't try to impress uselessly, and try to write direct sentences and avoid passive voices. This is very important. Try to write simple sentences and please avoid passive voices when you write. What you can write directly, please write directly. Don't put passive voices in it. Now, there are certain questions the researchers are asking me when they write the paper. They say that if I quote a lot or paraphrase a lot, will my paper be full of distracting citations? So quotations, adding quotations to your paper varies from field to field. For example, in linguistics, we need to put quotations because here we are talking about human beings, poets, dramatists, what they thought, how they thought, why they have written this quotation, what was happening in that society at that time that prompted him to, he observed and he wrote about it. So here, as many quotations you are putting, that goes very justifiable, provided you should do in-text citations and you should give references properly. Oblige the author when you are picking up everything that belongs to somebody else. As long as you're obliging the author, as long as you are writing and or giving proper references that can be traced by the person who is reading, there is no sin in this. Now, when I'm talking about paraphrasing means if I'm reading a book and now I want to take some material from it and I have taken 10 lines from it or 5 lines from it, same to same, I liked it, I want to put it, I wrote them as Austen has said. According to Austen, I have written 5 lines, I gave a footnote to it, and I have given it the references also, right? Austen said this. But by after this 5 lines, at least 15 lines should be our own creation. That is called as paraphrasing. It should not be like that you are picking up 4 lines from somebody, 4 lines from somebody else, 4 lines from somebody else, and you are making your article. If you will do it like this, that you are taking 5 lines from somebody and you're not writing the name of the author and you're trying to portray that this is your lines, or you are writing 4 lines and after that there is no contribution from your side, nothing doing. This is called as plagiarism. And it is an offense. It is copyright infringement. There can be legal consequences for it. That also leads to harming your reputation. So whenever you are putting quotations, if you are repeating quotations also, depending upon the subject, like in linguistics, put IBID. Or if the page is changed, put id. Make use of supranote. If you are using the combination of 2-3 citations, use parentheses and semicolons, right? So you should oblige the author. You should recognize the author who is responsible for it. So paraphrasing, there is difference between paraphrasing and rephrasing. This is very much, these are totally different things. If paraphrasing is done, it is a good research article. If rephrasing is done, then you are in trouble. Somebody has written it in Russian, and now you are writing it in English. Same thing. What you're doing? What is your contribution in this? Nothing. You're translating it. You are a translator. You are not a research article writer. So rephrasing is not writing research articles. Paraphrasing means if you are reading 10 books and you are taking an idea, you have taken, suppose you have taken 40 sentences from somebody. At least rest of the article of 8 to 10 pages should be your own ideas on thought process. Second thing, it should not be like that. If he is using a word honest, he is using intelligent word in his paragraph, you are replacing it with wise. You're doing nothing. You have just changed the word. You're playing smart. He is used intelligent, you are using wise, meaning idea of the paragraph remains the same. So this is plagiarism. This is not research article writing. It is just rephrasing it so as to claim that it is yours, right? So that should not be done. That is not a research article writing. Now, some people think that how many sources I can go through, number of, so depends upon the topic. As many research papers you can write in your footnotes or in references which are doing justification to the problem research title you have taken. So that is no, there is no limitation of sources. You can use as many sources as you wish, provided it should do the justification with your title. Then how to cite, how we do the citations. So there are so many techniques available: API, MLA, Chicago, ILI, and all are available online. You can download, you can keep the formats with you, and you can write your research papers. They're very easy to understand. Standards almost remains the same, and you can write your papers. Then there are certain tips to write. This is very important part of writing an effective research paper. Whenever you are taking research notes is the most important part in writing any research paper. Like when you are doing literature review, you should make use of sticky notes, or you should make use of sketch pens or colorful pens. Why? When you are taking notes, when you're collecting the literature review, you are reading articles and you find something important for you. There are different kind of material you come across. Some are quotations. Use some pen to write Q in front of it. That will ease your research process. Somewhere you have got an idea and you have written on a paper. You write, use some pen for it and write me. That is my creation. In the same manner, somewhere you're taking some material from some principle of gravity or some material from some author, use some other pen and write his name also. This is your first reading. Once you keep it aside and after even 10 days you come back, you know it. This is my material. These are the quotations I'm going to put. And this is the material of this particular person I have found. I have to review. So in this way, you should make use of sticky notes, which are called as research notes. And they are the most important thing. Once your research notes are complete, only then you are in a position to write a research article. And you should know how to differentiate it. Because once you start getting the material photostated or print out, keeping with yourself, I'll read it, person gets confused. So you just compartmentalize it. Use some pens, use some sticky chips, use some colors so that you can compartment. This is my material. These are the quotations. This is the material of Shakespeare. This is what he's saying about this particular feminism here. So use some kind of, you should have some organized ways of citation, because citation is the backbone of any research paper. Your citations should be always genuine, and your citation should be fit enough to be cross-referenced. So for example, if I'm writing a paper on cyber crimes in the higher education system, which were on very large scale after COVID. So here, first of all, I will be structuring, I'll be reading. After reading, I'll come to know what are its different facets, what I have to include in my article. Like I have to include the definition, people don't know about it. Then I have to put some quotations, famous quotations also, to capture attention of my audience. And then I have to also see how much data I have to collect, statistics, how much crime has been committed. And then I have to collect the data on the kinds, what type of crimes, from cyber crime also, what kind of crimes. And then what are the laws, what are the national laws, what are the international laws, and what is its impact on the personal data. So whatever I'm collecting, collect the citation sources also with it. You should not collect only the crabs. If you're collecting definitions, you're reading some books and you've got some very good definitions, use some pen, use some chart, or make some synoptic. My way is to do a synoptic view. I make a chart first. This, and this has to be in this paper. And then the points that I have taken, 1, 2, 3, 4, I start collecting material on that. And then I compartmentalize it. Okay, this definition, 7 definitions given on cybercrime by 7 authors, which is the one I'm taking, this one. So write with the exact wordings you are going to use in your paper. So write that. Give his name in the references also, that it is not your idea, it is the author's idea, how he has interpreted it. So this is it, how to put quotes in research work. I've told you, if the quotation is of a single line, then it can be included in the paraphrase only. But if the quotation itself is making a paragraph, if it is a single line, put it in the inverted commas and put it in the paragraph only. But if it is more than 2 lines, make a different paragraph for it. Or paraphrase it. If you can paraphrase it and write the name of the author also. So you can make use of quotations as well, and it can be used in any kind of subject. There is no hard and fast rule for it. This is very important. Post writing tips for research paper, and usually people don't do that. Editing yourself and proofreading by somebody else. You edit your reread your picture. And then proofreading should be done by somebody expert who will check all kind of mistakes done by you in this. And usually people don't do that. They just write and they are in hurry of rat race of just getting it submitted. How to form a reference list? If your citations are proper, there is no hard and fast rule that you cannot form a reference list. Your reference list depends upon your citations only. Your bibliography depends upon your reference list. So if you are organized from the starting only, be it any kind of style you are taking, MLA, APA, Chicago, any kind of reference list, whatever you are referring to, that should relate to the footnote you are putting. If you are putting a 1, 2, 3, 4 footnotes, and if you're writing in social sciences and you just write the references backside, so your references should be accurate enough to mention what you are mentioning in a particular page. So whatever you're accountable, basically you are accountable to the reference list you are making at the end of your research article. And then you have to remember these 3 C's before writing a research paper. You should be very clear. Clarity comes from reading. You should be concise, very to the point. You have to go from extensive to intensive, and you should write in a very comprehensive manner. One paragraph should be related to the other. Next is consistency and coherency. There should be a proper direction, right, starting from first to the last paragraph of your research article, so that the reader is not losing his interest in it. And the last one is creativity. This is a very important part, that you have to put your own ideas in it. There must be some conclusion that belongs to you from this. If you're writing the repetition also, if you're writing an article, which we will find in 10 more articles around, it is a very embarrassing situation. So there should be some creativity related to it. I hope I am able to convey my ideas across the table and you're able to understand what I wanted to tell you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini Kashmiria. Thank you so much for this wonderful sharing. Now, I would like to open the floor for queries from the guest speakers and audience. Yeah, Mr. Muzaffar Dar. Mr. Muzaffar Dar, you have a question? Yeah, you may raise your question now to our Dr. Shalini Kashmiria.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible, very much audible.
Hello. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you,
sir,
ma'am.
you're
Thank
audible.
you such a Thank you for such a fascinating presentation. It was really nice to hear you. I was just wondering, there was one of the slides you shared, which was an abstract of research paper, right? So
Abstract of
where you
research
mentioned
paper, okay.
So where you mentioned that what are the things which we are supposed to write in abstract, okay? So
Yes.
you mentioned, several things there, but I was wondering, can we really write, things like findings, results and arguments, or the, previous research which have been done in abstract? Then what is the difference between abstract and the conclusion if we have to write, findings in abstract as well as in conclusion? Because I believe in abstract, we're supposed to write, just introduce the topic and write the objectives or the aims, on which we are supposed to write the whole research paper, right? So I was just wondering if
I'm
you
getting
can,
the idea. I'm getting your idea. I'll explain it. See, when in abstract, when you're writing literature review, it is not exactly the literature review. It is written in the form of universe of study. That is what is the present situation, right? Whenever you will take a title,
Yes.
you will introduce the audience with your title. So here the literature review takes the form of your introducing to the audience what is your title. So that goes with your universe of study. What is happening, right?
Okay.
And then you
Yeah.
come to the objectives. This is happening. That's why the researcher felt like doing a research with the following objectives, right?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Getting the point. And the researcher will use this method. For example, the researcher is going to use doctrinal research method, and the source of data collection will be secondary. Getting my point?
Yes.
So in this way, you have to write about the findings, and you have to write your findings in conclusion only, but you have to tell the audience what exactly are you going to do.
Yes. Yes. That is what I was saying, that we can write those things in objectives, right? In
Exactly.
couple of sentences, right? Since the abstract is, some journals, journals have different, formats. Like some are saying you have to write only 100 words, some are saying 200.
Exactly.
So just including all these things will be, a bit difficult right here. Thank you so much. Thank you for this
All right.
fascinating.
All right. All right.
Thank you, sir, Muzaffar. Thank you. Now, can we have next question? Muzaffar, sir.
Ma'am, good evening.
Any more
Very
questions?
good evening.
Yes.
Very good evening.
So I'm a research scholar from Tamil Nadu, ma'am. I have
Alright.
a small doubt. So recently I worked on a topic called food styling, wherein which I was not able to find any review of literature in Indian context. So what should I do, and how should I proceed if this is the case?
What is the topic? Will you please repeat
Food
it?
styling. Food styling.
Food styling.
Yeah.
Food styling.
So how the food is shown in advertisements?
Okay, so you're writing how the food is shown in advertisements.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
not finding any literature in India related
Yes,
to it,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
and you have taken it for your research also.
Yes, I have.
So you are doing doctrinal research or empirical on this.
Empirical research.
So empirical research will be easy for you. I think you will have problem finding it in historical chapter only,
Okay, ma'am.
because in empirical you can put questions to the people. This will be a new kind of research. You will be introducing how in India the food styling is being done.
But what will I do for review of literature, ma'am?
You
That
have
should
to-
be included. right?
Exactly. You have to read how it is done. See, I'm not very acquainted with the topic, but yes, whenever you do literature review, you cannot restrict yourself only to India. You do literature
Okay.
review of whatever kind of literature you get related to this topic.
Okay, ma'am.
You should have a comprehensive literature or related to this topic, so that you can justify it in front of your examiners also, that there was nothing present in India.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay, ma'am.
you can take that literature review, and then why you chose this topic when literature review was not there? That is the question they will be asking you.
Then how can we conduct a new research, ma'am? If every
you are
research should have
you are from which background? You are in which stream?
marketing and commerce.
Marketing. So you can very easily carry it. I think you don't have any legal chapters in it. You can very easily carry out an empirical research on that. You can ask people, advertisement agencies and everybody, how you do the styling. You can ask them from where you have taken this idea. Idea itself is a copyright. Getting my
Okay.
point?
Yes, ma'am.
This idea of advertisement of food styling, advertisement of foods, that is what you're talking about, I guess. So
Yes, sir.
they must have discussed the idea somewhere, or they must have discussion in their journal house meetings or in their company board meeting, how they do it, how the food industry is advertising food styling, what they follow. As I cannot believe that they do not follow any norms. They must have
Okay.
taken it from some other country or
Okay,
some
ma'am.
corporate house, some international multinational company,
Okay.
from where they have inherited it, and they have taken the idea and then they are trying to implement in India. And you can also take interview. Local people will not be able to give you answer. You have to talk to the corporate houses there, or if you have the empirical. I don't know what is your population of study here. What is your population of study?
I actually did it with the consumers, ma'am.
Consumers.
So I studied about their perspective.
So how consumers are going to help you in this?
Uh, where, the research question, one of my research question was where they carried out by such a kind of fake advertisements, where they provide a disclaimer in very small font somewhere in the nook and corner of the advertisement.
The law
So
is
that
also,
was,
so you cannot restrict your population only to consumers. Then you have to recourse to everything. How
okay,
Security Exchange Board of India is regulating it, whether it comes in anti-competitive practices or not.
okay,
It
ma'am.
can be an anti-competitive practice also.
Okay,
If a company is working in food styling, and if a company is working in clothes and straightway without permission is switching to food styling, it comes in anti-competitive practices.
okay, ma'am.
What is the regulatory mechanism to regulate it? You can put these kind of questions also, because simply asking the consumers is not going to answer. Consumer does not know anything. They are just seeing the advertisements and they are responding. Are getting my point?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All regulatory mechanism has to be included in this.
Okay, I'll
Anybody
work
else?
on it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you, Pravalika. Next, can we have the next question, please?
Madam. Good evening, madam.
Very good
Am I
evening, sir.
audible, madam?
Mr.
Yes,
Kishan.
very much audible.
Yes.
Madam, I have two questions. Once you answer the first question, I will raise the second question, madam.
Yes.
Is abstract and synopsis same or different, madam?
You don't write synopsis in research articles.
Okay, we are supposed to write abstract and not synopsis, no, madam?
No. Synopsis is given for the thesis.
Fine, fine.
Synopsis is
And
written for
actually,
the thesis. Synopsis is written with the headings: universe of study, rationale for selection of the topic, objectives, research question, data analysis. No, 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 no. Abstract, you are misunderstanding. Abstract is reflecting your entire article. Suppose, give me some problem of your area.
madam, actually, I am a school teacher. I am not a professor or
Okay,
anybody who is
let's
teaching
see.
senior
Let's see.
college.
It doesn't matter. In academics, doesn't matter. You're a school teacher or a university professor. You can give it very easily. Suppose child labor. Child labor.
Yes.
Okay. So, child labor in a particular area. You belong to which area?
I belong to Maharashtra, Nanded district, madam.
Nanded. Okay. Child labor in Nanded. Fine. Now, if I have to write an article on it, what I'll write, I will not write what data I'm collecting. I'll write basically, firstly, what is the data, international data related to children. Literature review, how literature review has to be written. What is the national data related to child labor? Two things.
Yes.
Three things. What is the law regulating child labor in India? Three things. Third line, fourth line. Okay. Then what are the other administrative bodies doing to regulate child labor in India? Okay, done.
Yeah.
Then you will write what is the problem, why it is increasing. That is why you have taken this particular topic for article writing. Okay. So what kind of study you will do then? You will give the data despite the laws, despite the administrative authority, still the problem is increasing. Fine. So the researcher has taken the researcher has undertaken the present research to see the reasons for child labor in the Nanded district, Nanded of state Maharashtra, and the researcher is going to carry out the empirical research methodology will be applied, and the data will be collected. Random sampling will be done. Random means you're asking randomly availability of the population. Random sampling will be done, and the findings will be taken out, and appropriate suggestions will be given by the researcher. Done. Ho gaya. This is your art abstract.
Okay. And
So I'm
second
not
question,
like,
madam.
yeah.
Thank you. Second question is, I'm MA English in literature. So can a person do his research or PhD in teaching of English?
Teaching of English.
ELT. Can I do my PhD in ELT? Even though, because some people have told me that this relates to your MA and MEd side and not the literature side, ELT. So being a literature person, can I do PhD in teaching English or not?
Sir, I have no knowledge about it, honestly speaking.
Okay.
I have no knowledge. I cannot just give a vague statement regarding it. You have to see your state you ask your state university about it. Because it can
Fine.
vary from state to state. Also, you have to ask your state university, any state university of your state.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will clear it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Kishan. Next, do we have any more questions before I conclude? Any more? Okay, I think that's all about the questions. So, Dr. Shalini Kashmiria, what I would say about, I'm speechless about your presentation today. It's really excellent, very interesting, insightful, and well articulated, step by step. What are the steps involved in writing any research paper? You have post-mortemed it with all the steps involved and in writing the research paper, starting, of course, you mentioned how to write and how to structure the research paper in detail, in depth. I'm very sure every one of us have benefited from your presentation. You gave a wonderful introduction, body, and how to do the conclusion as well. I am really touched with your introduction about what should you include. Should be in your writing, research paper writing. You should be systematic, should be logical, and result orientated. And what all you have to eliminate, especially distractions. And types of research paper, you also gave few types of research papers, which is analytical paper, definition paper, compare and contrast paper, survey paper, survey empirical research paper, experiment paper, interpretative paper, argumentative paper. And you also narrated about the general guidelines for research papers, the content of research paper, what you should include in your research paper. And of course, in your introduction, you have mentioned you got to know the purpose, why, and what your paper is going to serve. And you have to consider who are the audience and the message you want to deliver to the author. You also mentioned at last about your abstract, which has to jibe with your title of the research paper. The aim is general topic to specific to extensive of your paper. And you also mentioned that how you have to put in your keywords and what are the importance of using keywords, how it helps people to find your research paper. And you also shared with us the tips of effective introduction, which we're supposed to write at last. Advice on how to improve your writing, the do's and the don'ts in writing research papers, and avoid plagiarism. Thank you so much, Dr. Shalini Kashmiria. We hope to hear from you again, to have you again and again in our session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me here. And thank you for bearing me. I had a bad throat, but still, I hope I could convey my things across the table and could contribute myself in some good manner. Once again, I'm very much thankful to the Cape Comorin Trust and IRASA, as well as Lavender Literary Club, and especially Shalja Vasudeva ma'am, a very near and dear friend of mine, for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you. And nice meeting you. All the very best for your future endeavors. Have a very great evening. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini. You did it excellently. Okay, despite
Thank
of
you, ma'am.
your
Thank you
issues,
so
you
much.
did it very well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Dear all, let me now introduce you, an amazing personality, an educator, and a researcher. Her name is Dr. Patricia Gonde. A profession, she is the head of academics. Her titles are, she's an author, researcher, social activist, and a humanitarian. She has doctorate in philosophy of education. Of course, she's from Zimbabwe and has experience of 32 years in education field. Her achievements are, few of her achievements are motivational, international speaker, volunteer, youth mentor, most enthusiastic, e-waste warrior, Rise Up for E-Waste International Project, SDG, Sustainable Development Goal Warrior, honorary doctorate in teaching and learning and humanitarian. Recipient of Qatar Complimentary Ticket awarded to 21,000 teachers, Academic Excellence Ministry of Education from Ministry of Education of Zimbabwe. She is also an ambassador for T4, All Lives Exist, ABCD International, SPSC, Yes You Can International, AIEF Global. She's also a country director, chair, and coordinator of different organizations. She's a global awardee. Her motto is leave no child behind. Sit on different boards. She sits on different boards locally and internationally. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Patricia Gonde to present her speech. Welcome, Dr. Patricia.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our viewers, our students, and esteemed speakers that we have here. Am I audible before I begin?
Yes, you are.
All
You
right.
are very loud and clear.
All right, thank you so much. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the organizers of this event today who have made it possible for me to be here talking about research skills. Particularly, I am going to be talking about data collection and data analysis. Thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given me today. I would like to share my screen with you. All right.
Yeah, please do.
I hope it's clear, or should I put it as slide?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, fantastic. Well done, Dr. Patricia. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Carry on. Yes.
So I am here to talk about how do we harness the power of data. I'm quite happy what the former speaker looked at how to write an effective research paper. And as researchers, we should be able to sit down, plan our research, how it is going to be written, and like what authors say, if you fail to plan, then you are planning to fail. But with so much guidance that we are getting from all esteemed speakers that are going to talk to us, I hope that we are going to add some value. So I'll be looking at data collection and data analysis. What do we mean by data? Yes, you have done your topic. Maybe you have done your chapter 1, your thesis, your proposal is done, your interviews, your literature review has been done, but how are you going to collect the data? Because if you are not able to collect the data, then your research is bound to fail, because your research will depend on the data that you have collected and how best you are going to analyze the data to come up with a conclusion. What has motivated you to carry out the research? You come up with your research question. I know that has been done also, because most of our students, us students and other students, they have problems in coming out with the research question. You've done all the preliminary, the research topic, the objectives, everything is there. You've done your literature review, but how are you going to collect the data? So when you are talking about data collection, we are talking about that process that you go through to gather the information or any data that you are going to have, so that you are able to investigate a specific research question that you are going to have, or you want to gather the data to test the hypothesis, or you want to gather the data to achieve the research objectives that you have. So it involves a systematic approach that you are going to do to collect all that relevant and reliable data from various sources that you have, or through any specific data collection methods. And like I am saying, that data collection is like you are gathering the puzzle pieces, because you want to understand a bigger picture. What are you researching about? How am I going to get the data? Then you collect. It's like a puzzle pieces that you are going to put down together. And when I know that researchers collect different types of information so that you get the insights into a particular topic or a phenomenon that you are studying about. And this data can be, information can be in the form of numbers, measures, maybe observations. It depends with the technique that you are going to do. And to collect the data, you need to follow a structured approach. You formulate your research questions, you design a data collection plan, you choose your appropriate methods. What factors are you going to, what factors are you going to consider for you to choose that data collection method that you are going to do? And there is quite a lot that is involved. So it's systematic. And then why do we necessarily need to collect the data? The data that you are collecting is very important, because it is the one that is a basis or foundation for conducting your research. And because this data is generating evidence-based findings. What are the findings? You want to find out something, so you need to collect the data so that you can come up with your conclusion. And when you are talking about data, proper data collection ensures that there is the availability of relevant and reliable data for analysis. So when you are collecting data, there are some considerations that you should put into mind. I know that the former speaker talked about. And then when you are collecting data, we collect data. Why? Because it helps you as a researcher to answer your research question. For example, you want to find out the factors maybe that are affecting onion production in a certain district. So for you to answer that question, you need to collect the data, and the data is the one that you are going to analyze and come up with your conclusion. And it also allows us as researchers to explore new areas of study and generate new knowledge. Suppose you are collecting data and then you find that, oh, I'm collecting this data, but there are gaps there, here, and there. So you need to, you can even divert and redo your research topic, because now you have generated a new area of study and or new knowledge, and it provides us with empirical evidence to support. Yes, you are researching about this topic. What evidence do you have? You are researching about performance of maybe some students at a certain college. What evidence do you have? How did you get the evidence? What method did you use? It was the research done before. So you also want to challenge the researches that were done before. You want to challenge the existing theories or assumptions that are there. And then effective data collection methods also contribute to the validity and credibility of our research studies, thereby allowing researchers to gather data from different sources or population and then coming up with your findings. And then with the data that we have, it enables us now to track the changes over time. I went into such a district. I was researching about drug or substance abuse amongst the youth. What changes have been there since maybe it started in COVID-19? What changes are there? So you need to do that data collection. And then it also, data collection also ensures the protection of participants. I'm going to talk about it when I'm looking at the ethical consideration. And then data collection is essential for us to come up with an informed decision making. For us to come up with a conclusion, it is essential that we should collect the data. It also helps us for policy development and practical applications in various fields that we have. So that's how important data collection is. So when we are choosing data collection methods, there are some factors that we should consider, and the choice of our data collection will depend on factors like, what is the research question? I want to find out, like I said, about onion production in Gonde village in Harare, Zimbabwe. This will guide me on the data collection method that I'm going to use. Am I going to use the survey? Am I going to use the observation method? Am I going to use the experimentation method? So it depends on your research question. And then available resources. I want to go and do my research, maybe 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers away, or 30 kilometers away. How are the transport logistics? If I'm going to do surveys, maybe I'm going to do a Google document. Do the people there have internet? Do they have Wi-Fi? So you need to consider all the available resources. These available resources will also determine how you are going to collect your data. Are you going to travel to that place, or you are going to send a questionnaire to them? And then we also consider ethical considerations. The ethical considerations is also will guide you in choosing data collection methods that you are going to do. For example, I want to research about substance abuse. How am I going to get the information? Am I going to do an experiment? Is it going to cause harm to me? Am I going to travel there? And then also it depends with the type of data that is required. Am I going to do a quantitative or a qualitative? So you need to properly plan, you need to design and implement data collection methods that are crucial to ensure that the information that you are getting is reliable and it is valid and very relevant to the research question that you are going to research on. Now, let's now look at the different data collection techniques that you can use as a researcher, depending on the research question that you are going to use and depending on the factors that have driven you to choose these data collection methods. I'm going to start with surveys. Surveys are very popular data collection techniques. I know that sometimes when I open Facebook, they will ask me a question, are you available? Are you able to answer this question, the questions that are going to follow? We are doing a survey. Or you go to a shop, maybe you're a customer at a certain shop, they will send you a survey. Maybe they want to ask about customer satisfaction. How satisfied are you? So those surveys involve asking a group of people a series of questions. You are gathering data so that you gather data. And as students, we can also use, we can also create our own surveys using their free tools that are there right now on the market. Like you can use Google Forms, whereby you can get instant feedback and you are able to analyze, or you are going to use SurveyMonkey. So also it depends now on the factor of resources. Whom are you going to send that Google form? Are they able to access it? Is how many people are you going to reach on the market? What is your target area? So you need surveys, very important for collecting, especially quantitative data and opinions from a large number of people. Then we move on to interviews. Interviews also involve having direct conversations with individuals. We are researching about drug, maybe abuse. We go and interview. Maybe you are talking about youth. We go and interview. Already you have a population that you are going to interview. You have done your random sampling or whatever sampling method that you have done. Which district are you going to? Which province? Which part are you going to interview people? Already you book your interviews. Then you go and interview those people. So you can conduct, sometimes we conduct structured interviews. It's where you have your questions ready, they are predefined questions, or you can have a semi-structured interview where it has got more of open-ended discussions that are there at the end. And interviews are great because you are hearing it from the primary source, not from the secondary source. Maybe you are hearing it from the primary source. So interviews are great for gathering qualitative data, such as personal experience. We are talking to Dr. Gonde about leadership styles that she's using at her organization. So you are getting my personal experience and thereby in-depth insight. Then we move on to observations. Yes, I am there in the community. I want to find about how the community is growing onion, maybe in my village with. I have to go sometimes and observe. I go sometimes into the community and observe how the youth abusing the drugs, or maybe the adults, everyone can is affected here. I go and observe. So observation, it involves systematically watching and recording behaviors. How do they behave after taking this? How did the patient behave after taking this type of medicine? Maybe it was to treat cancer. How do they behave? Or we want to go and watch or record an event that is happening. Maybe there's a cultural event that has been happening. You go there and observe. So you can conduct also what we call structured observations, because you have already categorized. I'm going to go and observe how they are growing this particular crop. You already have your questions, your categories. How do they start planting? How do they grow this crop? What is needed? You have categories. And also you can also do what we call unstructured observations, whereby you just go and then you observe and you write whatever you see there. Then moving on to another data collection technique that you can use are experiments. And when we are talking about experiments, these are now involving whereby you are manipulating variables and observing the effects. I know that at primary school, we used to have this experiment whereby you wanted to find out how the plant grows where there's sun and when there's no sun. You are now, those are variables. So you can design also as a research student and conduct experiments in controlled settings, maybe in a laboratory, or maybe it's a simulated environment. Then we also, when we are talking about experiments, because you are doing it yourself, it helps also you as a researcher to establish what caused it. What are the effects? We call it the cause and effect relationship. And then you are able to test your hypothesis. Then sometimes you do data collection methods whereby you want to find out the existing data that is there. Sometimes maybe the research has been done. For example, last week I was just marking some proposals that I was given, and someone did a research that had been done before. And I was asking the student, are there any gaps there that you want to research about? So we also need to look at that, and whereby also you are doing, when you are doing existing data, maybe you are analyzing also a document, you are examining all the existing documents. For example, you are looking at the books, you are reading articles, or you are reading reports. Then you are able to now look at that existing data, you review it, you analyze the documents that are there, that are relevant to the research topic that you are going to do, and you extract the information. And then you are able to identify if there are any patterns. And when you are looking at existing data, especially from analyzing documents that are there, this is very beneficial. For example, in fields like, if you are looking at disciplines like history, we are looking at disciplines like literature, and we are looking at social science. Then we also use what we call focus groups. When you are talking about focus groups, this involves bringing together a small group of individuals who have got shared characteristics or they've got shared experiences. For example, someone was researching about Black Americans or Negro Americans. Maybe they've got the shared characteristics. What is it that you are going to investigate? So you can also organize those focus groups and then explore your specific topics, or then you gather your opinions from those focus groups. And then this helps us, especially so that you can also get the in-depth sites, and it allows also you to have maybe diverse perspectives from those focus groups. Then we move on to what we call case studies. And when we are looking at case studies, these involved in-depth exploration, for example, a single individual groups, like I'm talking about, maybe you are looking at, you want to research on a topic that is cultural sensitive. For example, we are looking at here in Africa, I know there's females are subjected to genital mutilation. Maybe you want to go and research on that individual group. And you also attend the events where they are happening. Where are they going to do that cultural practice? You are also go and attend that event, and you can also collect information. Now you are maybe using a multifaceted approach. You are collecting information, maybe using interviews, maybe observations or document analysis. That is a case study. And then case studies are very important because they provide detailed and context-rich data that you can use for comprehensive understanding. And sometimes you need to go into the field and see field work so that you are involved. Participatory method. You go and participate in whatever is happening so that you have a clear understanding of the research topic that you want to partake in. So those are the data collection techniques that I thought that I could share with you. But for each and every data collection techniques, we know that there are pros and cons to it. I'll just mention a few pros and cons that are there for each data collection method that I have talked about. When you are looking at surveys, surveys are more like maybe questionnaires. They allow the researchers maybe to collect data from a large number of participants, just like I was telling you about Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. Many people, it's a survey from different large number of participants, and you get your information sometimes quickly, and it's very efficient. And we are looking at data that can be administered in person. You go and do your survey at a school. You send you take your questionnaire there, or you can do it via mail or online or through phone calls. And then, but it also has got its own cons, disadvantages in the fact that surveys, because they rely on participants self-reporting, it may introduce response bias. Sometimes because I don't want the person to know it is biased. Sometimes it can also be very inaccurate depending on what information you need. I know that last time here we got a survey about how we teach maths and science combined at infant level. And because it's a particular school, sometimes people don't want you to be identified, or to people to know that you are not teaching the subjects correctly. Sometimes people provide inaccurate data because what they know what you want, and they give you those answers. So the response rate as well can be very low, especially if it is online, because so many people might not have the resources. It can be low, leading to potential non-response at all, or depending on how you design your survey questions, you can have non-response or low response. And when we are looking at interviews, as I said, they gather rich and detailed information, especially when you are getting it from the primary source. And you can also be able to probe someone, or you are able to ask someone to clarify their response, So you are getting your response there and there. And it also has got its own cons, like that it can be time consuming, especially if it is not structured, because you are going on and going on, and you have to be very skillful if you want to be an interviewer. And then the sample size sometimes is typically smaller compared to surveys, because surveys, you do a lot of people, and then it's limiting, and it may provide also bias, because the person is there, he wants or he or she wants to please you. So it can also be biased as well. Now, moving on to observations. Observations, like I said, they can be structured or unstructured, but observation bias can also affect the accuracy. When you go and observe, for example, people who are abusing drugs, sometimes they know that they are being observed, so we might end up having observer bias. And like we said, the Hawthorne effect, I know some of you might have researched about, where participants alter their behavior. No, that's what normally happens. They alter their behavior due to being observed. It happens, and observations may not capture participants' thoughts. What are they thinking, or their motivation? So sometimes you get, yes, accurate information there and there, but there's bias. And then when you are moving to experiments, when you are conducting experiments, like I said, they provide a high level of control because you are the one who is doing it. But sometimes they can be resource intensive, because you need to buy everything, you need to have a laboratory. And also they can be time consuming. And sometimes they do not produce the result that you were expecting. And when you are doing the experiments, ethical considerations must be addressed. And then if you are looking at existing data, the existing data, sometimes it may not fully align with what you want to research about. And then I think I'm going to end here as well in terms of our pros and cons, and move on to the next item that is there. Now, when you are doing your data collection, you should be able to think about the ethical considerations, because they are very important, because they protect the rights and the privacy and well-being of the research participants. And when you are looking at these considerations, like I said, they protect the participants from harm and ensure that the research is done with integrity, the research is done with transparency, and some ethical considerations are guided by internationally recognized codes. I cannot just go into a community and ask, there are some things that I should be able to put down, ask for permission so that I can do the research. So there are some key ethical considerations in research that you should consider when you are collecting data. For number one, we are looking at what we call an informed consent. Before you go and research in any community, any organization that you want to go, you need to obtain informed consent from the participants. And this ensure that they understand what you intend to study, what is the purpose of your study, and also they should understand why they are being involved. Why are you involving the group of women? Why are you involving the group of men or boys or girls? And also, they should also ensure potential risks that can be there, and for example, if you are doing experiments, and their right to withdraw at any time. This you should let them know. Make sure they are very aware of your studies purposes, their procedures, their risks and benefits, and their right to withdraw at any time without consequences, because we do not want to force them. Number two, you have to consider their privacy protection, and as researchers, we should safeguard the confidentiality. It's very important. Confidentiality of the participants' personal information, and ensure that the data is stored securely. Participants' privacy should be protected, and make sure that the data that you get is stored securely. And even the handling procedures, you need to safeguard participants' identities and sensitive information. This is very, very crucial. And then anonymity. Whenever possible, when you are collecting data, data should be collected and reported in a way that ensures participants cannot be identified individually. We are trying to protect the participant here. And then voluntary participation. Whenever we are doing our research, the research should be, participation in the research should not be forced, but should be voluntary, and participants they should never face any negative consequences for declining or withdrawing. Whenever they say, I cannot move on, they shouldn't face any consequences. So participation in research is very, very important. It should not be forced, and the participant should have the freedom to decline participation or withdraw. Then we move on to minimization of harm. The participants should be protected from harm. Whenever, for example, we are doing research and then it includes another person, they should be protected from minimize potential psychological, physical, emotional harm to participants. That, oh, you are the group of girls who have been, the researchers came here to find out about this, and then in the community, they are subject to abuse. We should try by all means. And then when you are doing your research, when you want to do your data collection, you should also ensure that strive for inclusivity and avoid discrimination by all means on factors such as race, such as gender, such as religion, social, economic status, our geographical boundaries as well. So we should try by all means to be very, very inclusive whenever we are doing our research. And then we need also to, when you are involving human people, you require ethical approval from an institution. For example, if you are coming into my institution, and it is a primary school, sometimes it is a school, they'll say that, where is the letter from the university that you have? Where is the letter from the Ministry of Education that has authorized you to come and do this research? And then when you are doing some other ethical consideration that you should look into, if deception is necessary, researchers should consider and justify its use. And sometimes you need to debrief participants afterwards to ensure that there's no lasting harm or understanding. And as researchers, we need to provide our participants with adequate information and ensure comprehension so that they can also make their own informed decision making, whether to continue or not to. Then last but not least, you should consider transparency whenever you are doing your data collection. There should be transparency, there should be integrity, because as researchers, we should conduct our work when you are doing your research with honesty, transparency, and integrity. And you should accurately report your findings and avoid any data manipulation to suit your research question. Avoid that. Data manipulation, avoid data fabrication, and you need to give appropriate credit to others' work. Suppose you are using existing data, you need to give appropriate credit. I think the former speaker talked about plagiarism. Sometimes we do it. We need to give appropriate credit. And lastly, when you're doing your research, there is a need for professionalism. Try by all means to abide or to adhere to any professional standards that are needed for you to carry out that research. And then maintain your objectivity, integrity, and respect, especially of participants, throughout the data collection process so that you have your accurate data. So these are the ethical considerations that you must think about when you are doing data collection. Now moving on to, before I move on to data analysis, I know that I was looking at one person's, student's research whereby he was studying about how did women in American Negro slavery cope with their oppressive conditions, and what impact did their coping mechanisms have on their duties. So I was just looking at this research topic, and when I tried to, I found out this person had, it was plagiarism in the first place, but looking at what I was talking about, the ethical consideration, when doing such a research on sensitive and historically traumatic topics, they require careful consideration. For example, we are looking at the survivors of COVID-19. We should be, it's a sensitive topic because some people might have been affected or some people might have lost some relatives. So when you are doing such, you need to carefully consider the ethical issues that I was talking about: informed consent, confidentiality, or cultural sensitivity, because it affects a certain group of people. Cultural sensitivity. And then you need to look at it and then maybe think of another way of collecting data. Now, moving on, we want to look at what data analysis is. Yes, you have collected your data using the several instruments that we're talking about, but now you have the data on you. How are you going to analyze? I'm just going to look at it in short about how we analyze our data. So data analysis is the process of examining and making sense of the data. Now you have your data. You have collected your data for research. How are you going to analyze it? And it is a systematic process that helps you as a researcher to make sense of your data and draw meaningful conclusions for your research. How are you going to conclude your research. And it is a very important part of research project. Some people have collected the data well, but now they cannot come up with a data analysis strategy that they are going to use. And then that data collection does not serve any purpose. So you can, you need to have follow certain steps so that you can effectively analyze your data and contribute to your field of study. So we have got how important is data analysis. Data analysis helps the researchers make sense of the data they have collected. You have collected your data. Maybe you're looking at the different substances that are being abused in the community, and you come up with your data, whether it is for qualitative or quantitative. Then you analyze those figures that you got. You analyze all the responses that you got from the participant so that at the end of the day, they make sense. And then data analysis as well, it allows researchers to identify patterns, to identify any relationships and any trends in the data. For example, I was talking about a questionnaire, maybe it has been sent by a particular clothing store. In winter, how did this type of clothing sell in 2023? How did it sell in 2022? They are trying to identify the patterns. They are trying to identify the relationships that are there. What relationships are there when parents are supporting their children in their learning? What are the trends in the data? That is how important data analysis is. It comes up with the patterns, it can come up with the relationship or trends of the data that you have. Then it helps us in testing the hypothesis that we have and also answer the research questions that we might be having. For example, you have a hypothesis, one or two hypotheses, and the hypothesis with the data that you have collected answer that hypothesis that you have. For example, lack of employment hypothesis, like lack of employment opportunities is a significant driver of irregular migration amongst Zimbabwean youth. Now you have collected the data. Then you can say, oh, I think that hypothesis has been answered. And then data analysis provides evidence-based findings and supports decision making. You now have your data. You now have your evidence. You now have your conclusion. You write in your research, your recommendations. Those recommendations are now being used to make important decisions. So the data analysis is important because it supports decision making. Then when you do your data properly, it ensures the accuracy and reliability of research results. You have done your data, you've collected and you analyze. Then you say, oh, I think this data now is accurate. And it is very reliable because of the results that you got. Then data analysis helps our researchers to draw meaningful conclusions from their data. For example, I am investigating the relationship between lack of employment opportunities and irregular migration. Maybe the youths are traveling from one place to another. Why is it that there is urban migration of youths into our towns? Is it because of lack of employment? Now we come up with meaningful conclusion from our data after we analyze. And data analysis helps us in understanding the implementation and significance of research findings. We now understand maybe that the socio-economic and cultural factors are the ones that are driving the youth to go and look for employment outside my country. They are the ones that are driving people so that they go and look for the brain drain. So proper data analysis will help us in that. And then when we do our data analysis effectively, it enhances the credibility and validity of research studies. Suppose you have been using existing data. So when you have done your data analysis, then you find out, oh, someone had already researched about that. And then you have done your data analysis. There is credibility and maybe there's validity of that research study that was done before. And maybe you've used the recommendations to do your own research. And when we do our data analysis, it facilitates communication of research results through clear and organized reporting. For example, we do a research project. And lastly, it contributes to the advancements of knowledge in various fields because you've recommended yourself that I've done this research, but we need to do certain things like this, this and that. And then some people come up with some data of some research topics from the data that we've used, and they are now using what we call existing data. Now, we have steps in collecting in data analysis. There are several steps that you can use to collect data analysis. The first one is the collecting of data. Yes, we have done the collection of data. We have used several methods that you have come up with. Then you move on to cleaning and preparing the data. How do we clean the data? We make sure that we check whether the data that we have is appropriate for our research question, and then we move on. We filter the information that we don't need and remain with the information that we need. Then the next step that you are going to do is you explore and summarize the data that you have collected. When you have collected the data, I've moved on. Sorry. When you have collected the data, you summarize the data. You have filtered the ones that you don't need and the ones that you need, and then you summarize, come up with the data that you don't need. So you gather the relevant data needed for your analysis, and this can be done by extracting maybe data from the different databases that you have. You can use methods like the web scraping techniques or collecting survey responses that you already have. Maybe you've done your surveys, you collect all those survey responses. And when you are collecting those survey responses, make sure that the data is clean, it is accurate, and it is in the appropriate format for analysis. And when I say you clean it, it means you need to, for example, remove the duplications. Maybe they are there. You handle all the missing values, and then you transform your data into something that is comprehensive and consistent. Then you need to move on to analyzing the data. You now perform what we call exploratory data analysis to gain insights into the data. And this involves maybe summarizing the main characteristics of the data that you used. Maybe you have got descriptive statistics, or you want to create visualizations. For example, sometimes you've got histograms, you've got scatter plots, or you can use box plots. So you explore all the data that we have, and this will help you to identify the patterns, the trends, and then the potential outliers that you have. And then when you're analyzing the data, you move on to interpreting the results. Once you have conducted your analysis of the data, now you move on to interpreting the results that you have in the context of the research topic that you are doing or the research problem. And you also look at the objectives that you had set as you are analyzing the data, maybe in objectives, maybe to find out the problems that are there in the community, and then depending on the research topic that you have, so you look for those meaningful patterns. Maybe there are variables or associations and insights that can address that initial question that you had at first, and then support this decision making that you might have. So whenever you are analyzing the data also or interpreting the results, make sure that you consider the limitations and assumptions that you had at first of your analysis, and at the end you discuss the implementations, the implications of the findings. Then the next step is you need to validate and verify the data that you have by checking, is there any consistency in conducting sensitive analysis? So you need sometimes to revisit your assumptions and methodologies that you used to ensure that your project is, your findings are robust. And then if necessary, you need to do what we call iterating through the analysis process, refine your methods, refine your data collection. Maybe something went wrong in the data collection techniques that we're using or the hypothesis, then based on your feedback. Then lastly, how are you going to report? Are you going to report through graphs? Are you going to use visualizations? Are you going to use charts? Are you going to use graphs? Or are you going to use some dashboards to effectively communicate your results? So when you are communicating and visualizing your findings, you need to use simple language, like what the former speaker said. Use plain language, even when there are complex concepts that are there, and provide context for the finding. This step is very, very important to ensure that the results that you get at the end of your research are understood and can be acted upon. So by following these steps, you can effectively analyze data and derive meaningful insights into informed decision-making to solve complex problems that you might have had in the first place. And then I would just like to say, I think this brings to an end my topic on data collection and data analysis. So by using appropriate data collection techniques, you can gather valuable information that you need to answer your research questions. And remember to select techniques that align with your objectives. When you are selecting your techniques, they should be able to align with your objectives. And remember that when you are doing your data collection, ethical considerations are needed, and maintaining data validity. Ethical considerations and maintaining data validity are crucial throughout the whole process. And remember that also data analysis allows you to make sense of the collected data and derive meaningful insights. take advantage of the various analysis methods that are there, such as statistical analysis. There are so many. If you research about them, qualitative coding, thematic analysis, depending on your data type. I think the former speaker talked about it. And always refer back to your research objectives to guide you, your analysis process. Thank you all for attending my webinar today. I hope you found this session to be very informative. I hope you have also gained some valuable insights. And remember to apply what you have learned from all the speakers that spoke today in your future research. If you've got any further questions or need assistance, I think I am done, and I wish you all the best in your research journey. Thank you so much. Over to you, our moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Patricia Gonde. Of course, it is informative. We have just a wonderful presentation from you, Dr. Patricia Gonde. It's so marvelous, remarkable, and impressive presenter you are. Amazing. Yeah, you have narrated step by step in detail, simple to understand, and with much clarity, just like our earlier presenter, Dr. Shalini Kashmiria. Yeah, we had amazing speakers today. Yeah, your topic today is also on research skills, data collection and analysis. Dr. Patricia, you have covered all necessary topics under data collection to do a research paper. You have touched on how to collect data and the methods, how to formulate questions, and importance of data collection, choosing data collection methods. Yeah, I repeat, the collection techniques such as surveys, interviews, observations, experiments, existing data, focus groups, case studies, and fieldwork as well. And the most important, we have to observe in whatever we do are the ethics, the ethical considerations in data collection, such as informed consent, privacy protection, anonymity, voluntary participation, minimization of harm, inclusion and diversity, institutional review, deception, informed decision making, transparency, and of course, professionalism. Because those researchers who do research papers are professionals, must observe this most important criteria. And you also touched on what is data analysis, importance of data analysis, and steps in collecting data analysis. Amazing, Dr. Patricia Gonde. I'm very sure all our audience have benefited, and we are able to do quality presentation from the sharing of our Dr. Shalini Kashmiria and Dr. Patricia Gonde. Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia. Dear audience, participants, kindly, now the floor is open for you to raise your questions. Please proceed.
Hi, ma'am.
Pravalika.
Thank you for the insight.
Thank
So
you.
my question is regarding the data collection technique. So for instance, if my study has 2 objectives, can I use different data collection techniques for each objective? And if I'm doing so, how should I explain it my research methodology chapter?
Hello. Thank you so much for the question. Yes, it depends on your research objective. For example, I was talking about what are the causes of urban migration of youth into the community. I can use several data collection methods for me because I want to get the information. For example, on the drug abuse, I can go and observe I can use the interview methods. What I want is the data that needs to be, and you have to explain it in your research methodology. Which data collection methods are you going to use? So you necessarily don't need to use one. You can use many depending on your research, or
Okay,
you want
thank
to
you, ma'am.
collect qualitative. If you want to go, do you want qualitative data? Do you want quantitative data? You can use more than one.
Okay. Ma'am, and my next question is, what is the minimum amount of data that I should collect for my thesis? Is there any
Minimum.
particular criteria or particular number for that?
It depends on your research topic. There's no particular number. It depends on what you want to collect. There's no particular, for example, if I'm doing a research question, I can have 50 questions. Some can have 25 questions. It's what you are collecting. It depends on how you are going to frame around your questions. I can have 50 questions, but someone with 25 questions get the same data.
Okay, ma'am. And
when it depends also with your sampling methods. How are you choosing your sampling? It's another topic maybe someone is going to do. How many people are you going to go into an organization and ask? So
Okay.
it depends also with the sampling methods that you are going to use.
Okay. One last question out of my excitement. What are the data analysis tools that you use in your university? Since I'm from India, we use SPSS, R programming. And what are the tools you use in your universities?
We use different data analysis technique tools here. It depends also with the topic that you are going to use. And also it depends, like I said, is it qualitative or is it quantitative? So it depends on your research questions. There are several of them that you can use the techniques. For example, descriptive statistics. You can use what we call descriptive statistics, which provide an understanding maybe of the data distribution. Sometimes some people use what we call data visualization, whereby you're using techniques such as graphs, such as charts. I hope I understood your question correctly. Some use what we call hypothesis testing, or there are so many that you can use depending on your research topic.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.